Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Soul Plus Systems. I'm your host, Jenn Fix. If you're new here, this podcast is all about the stories behind the systems that change lives. We dive into entrepreneurship, resilience, healing, mindset, and what it really takes to move from simply surviving to creating a meaningful life. Today's guest is someone whose journey spans military service, personal loss, PTSD, writing, and speaking. He's a retired Army and Navy veteran, an award-winning author, and someone who's passionate about helping others understand that surviving adversity isn't where the story ends. Danny, welcome to Soul Plus Systems.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you so much for your service. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for saying that.
I always like to start easy. So, for someone meeting you for the first time, who is Danny Lampkin?
In short, I am a retired veteran, both Navy and Army. I am a writer, transcendent writer, multi-genre author, speaker on resilience, and parents' rights advocate, father, husband. Yeah.
Perfect. You mentioned that one of the biggest things that stood out to you was learning how trauma can completely change the way someone sees themselves. Can you explain what that means from both your own experience and what you've learned helping others?
Yeah, when I say trauma can completely change your experience, I'm talking both professional and personal. For example, on the professional side, in terms of me, the military, having served in both the military, the Navy and the Army, and then having joined the military the very day of the 9/11 attack. And from then on to retirement, my life was on go. Trauma, I didn't have time to react to it. I didn't have to have a whole lot of time to process or heal from the things that I went through, the things that I've seen. And then on the other side of that perspective is my personal life, having multiple failed relationships, multiple divorces, because I often treated the military better than I did my wife and my children and my spirituality. So that trauma that I endured after retirement is when I felt the repercussions of it. Having gone through 22 years in the military, losing multiple family members, could not cry, could not show emotion. Not that I didn't want to, I just couldn't. I think that because I was so conditioned and programmed to hide my emotion in front of people that I got good at it. I got real good at my poker face. And so now, in retrospect, looking back, I'm a huge crybaby. I am dealing with my PTSD now. And it wasn't a thing of too little too late, because it's never too late to deal with PTSD. But I wish I would have dealt with it earlier. Then I probably wouldn't have had gone through this certain situation that I went. So yeah, that trauma could definitely change the experience, but it's never too late to deal with it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I believe that.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to what you're saying about the PTSD stuff and not being able to cry and not being able to let it out and stuff like that. For the longest time, I've been like that. And now I'm starting to let that armor drop a little bit. So I'm starting to share my story too. So the more inspirational guests like yourself that I have on, the more it gives me the ability to speak freely as well. So that's something I really appreciate. You said something that really caught my attention. You said that military taught you how to survive, but life taught you that surviving isn't the same as living. That's powerful. Was there that one specific like aha moment or that defining moment that helped you realize that you were able to make those changes?
Yes, I was, I would say 3 months out from retiring. I finally scheduled an appointment with behavioral health. I finally saw a psychiatrist, and that psychiatrist, or therapist, I should say, asked me one question. And the question was, why are you here? And immediately my eyes started welling. I didn't know why. And then I was asked, why are you crying? And I lost it. I lost all of my control, all of my emotional control. And I wept literally for half an hour and didn't know why. Because for the first time in 22 years, I felt like I didn't have to put on a facade. I didn't have to pretend. And so I thought about all of my divorces. I thought about all the soldiers that was unalive. I thought about all the soldiers that got kicked out of the military that I tried to save from themselves. I thought about all those times in Iraq, all those times in Afghanistan, and the toxic relationship that I've had, the unhealthy addiction that I endured throughout the military. I thought about all of that for the very first time. I reflected in that one segment. And the therapist didn't say a word. He just sat there, crossed his legs, and let me cry. That was my aha moment of, I should have done this before. I should have done this earlier.
Yeah, that's really it's amazing your brilliancy in being able to take the self retrospects and take it within yourself and finding that light to be able to help other people to guide them like the lighthouse. Because the lighthouse, it doesn't go out and rescue people, right? It stands there strong, but at the
Right.
same time, it draws the right ones in. And being able to have that your own perseverance, that takes a lot of strength to be able to go through those moments that kept you really in those dark places. So a lot of men, they struggle silently because they're taught to keep everything inside. Why do you think that happens?
Because the men are the backbone in the families, in community, in organization. We can date it back to biblical times where the man, most of the weight and the burden is on the man's shoulder. And we have been conditioned over time to be the security blanket, to be the provider, to be the protector. And when when that mentality is embedded in you, then you apply it to every area of your life, in the home, in the military, on the job. And I believe it has nothing to do with over masculinity, but it has everything to do with mindset. Not for all men, because some men are not that way. But for the ones who were raised primarily in a structured home with the father in the home, like I was, seeing that, watching him demonstrate that in front of me, that was embedded in me before the military. The military just really just enhanced that mentality.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. What's one thing that you could say to the man listening today who's convinced that nobody would understand what he's carrying?
Yeah, I would say as a man, you can't just vent to anybody. You can't just talk to anybody. You can't just show yourself in front of anybody. You have to have, I would say, have a mentor, have someone, whether it's a pastor or just someone in an organization that has been where you're going, who can understand where you're coming from, who had that experience, to just vent to them and speak to them and talk to them, and to allow them to pour into you. A lot of times as men, we're so used to and accustomed to pouring into other people that we do it so much that we have nothing left. And so I would say you have to be able to discuss that with someone whom you trust, preferably another man, because a lot of times the women, they won't understand because they're not men. Maybe they could understand, but not relate. That's the word I want to use. Relate.
I got you. I got you. I can
Mhm.
totally understand what you're putting down. I think the audience can too. So I think it's super important that men have the ability to be able to speak freely to other men as well. I've had other guests on that have spoken exactly about that issue. So the audience is very familiar with men going through the problems that they're going through and having that ability to trust another man to be able to have somebody to talk to. You're super cool. You write psychological thrillers,
Oh
your
yeah.
memoirs and your books rooted in
Oh yeah.
personal experiences. How has writing become part of your healing process?
The first book I wrote wasn't even going to be a book. It was just simply me brain dumping on paper. I let someone read it, and that person told me, you should really publish. This book could really help someone. And so that person was my pastor. He credit him for motivating me to publish my first book. It's a short memoir called Delayed Consequences. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I got it.
Delayed Consequences. That was my healing book on my personal side. Now, my second book is what healed me on my professional side, my military, that helped me cope with what I went through in the military. That book is called What Was It Really Like? Behind the scenes military stories no one ever tells. That's me in an Army uniform with Navy ships in the background. signaling my performance in both branches. So yeah, those books helped me heal. Now, when I wrote those books, nonfiction, of course, my brain started turning and my creativity wouldn't allow me to stay in one genre. And then I wrote contemporary romance with a thriller subplot. Then I went to my latest two books are thrillers as well, psychological thriller. This is my latest, Lest I Die, domestic slash psychological thriller, banger. But my top seller is my psychological thriller titled Barely Got Away. This is my top seller here. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. We will have your links and everything in the description for us below. Now, do you think resilience is something that people are born with, or is it something that gets built through hardship?
Resilience is definitely something that's born through hardship. But I will say that there are some things that people are inherently resilient about naturally, I believe. But most of the time, the overarching meaning of resilience comes from hardship, experience, trauma. For me, definitely trauma. The military really helped shape my resilience, having taken so many L's in life. But the military definitely shaped my resilience to the point now where I am a mentor for several individuals that are in both the Navy and the Army.
It sounds like the military definitely helped shape that for you. One thing I really appreciate is that your message, it's not just about surviving trauma, but it's about creating that purpose after it. Like for you, it's writing your books and getting those things out there for you. For me, it's creating the podcast and being able to speak to incredible guests like yourself. What does purpose look like for you today?
Purpose looks like this for me. I am now coming, I got to back up. I have to revert to the military. When I was in the military, I felt like the military was my purpose. I felt like I was planted there to help people, to help organizations. I was one of those. I felt like I was the savior for a lot of people. But after post-military, I became very depressed because I was no longer the first sergeant. I no longer had soldiers to lead. I no longer had people coming to me. I no longer had meetings to attend. So I felt like a nobody. But now, after writing books, doing multiple speaking engagements, I now have that same impact. So I believe the energy that I had for the military, the Lord transferred that to writing, speaking, mentoring, and just being an example for others to follow, whether it be service members or civilians. That's
Yeah,
purpose to me.
it sounds like you had that structure there. And then after the structure was removed, that's when you were in that dark place. And then you reminded yourself that you could build again through hearing the call to serve. I definitely understand that as well. If someone listening feels completely stuck, maybe they're overwhelmed, maybe they feel broken, what's one small step that they can take this week that starts moving them forward?
I honestly believe that the answer to everyone's problem could be found in a book. I honestly believe that. Not necessarily my books, but in a book. My favorite book is the Bible because I believe that within that book gives me the answer to every situation I can face or anyone can face in life. Read a book. That's step one. Step two is obviously seeking mental therapy.
Your mission is centered around honest conversations. Why do you think storytelling is so powerful in helping people heal?
Storytelling is powerful because I believe storytelling should be transparent. The best information you can give is in the realm of being transparent, being honest about your life and what you've been through. Because a lot of times people hold back what they've been through and try to make conversation general, when it should be transparent and without secrets. So within my books, I write in such a way, even in my fiction, there are a high level of truth in all my fiction books as well. And one thing that all my books, and they're all standalone, have in common is two common things: resilience and positive transformation. Again, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel through Christ. And I believe that, yeah, I would say that through my writing and through my speaking engagement.
Yeah, you
Uh,
feel that inner
uh,
pull, that inner light to write. I feel it too. I'm completely with you on that. This podcast is called Soul Plus Systems because I believe transformation isn't just inspiration. It's building systems that support the life that you want. So tell me, what are some daily habits or like routines that you have now that structure that help to keep you mentally fit?
Mentally fit, I spend a lot of time with my children. I didn't do that in the military. And I will say this for the record, I have 9 beautiful children. 9, yes. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with them in the military. I was always on the go. So I spend a lot of time with them now. I do a lot of reading now. I write nearly every single day. I don't take breaks from writing. I write every day because, like I said, it's therapeutic for me. And reading and writing is helping me become more aware, intelligent, so that I can not help myself, but help others to give an answer to their problems. Because people come to me all the time. And I attend church a lot. That's been a huge help for me, attending church, having that higher power to help regulate my emotion, regulate my behavior. Yes. And just become an overall better version of myself.
Awesome. You're doing an amazing job. That's amazing perseverance, and your family, I'm sure, is amazed at all of the growth that you have had and the positivity and the light and everything that you're able to share with them as well, to be that positive legend, to leave that legend behind and be able to let your children grow up and see that positive role model. I got one fun one before we wrap it up. If you could sit down for an hour with anybody living or gone, who would it be and what would you ask them?
I figure it out. I would say it would be, man, my wife's I'm going to get in trouble for this. It would be my ex-wife who passed away just over a year ago. She was brutally murdered. I would ask her, what could I have done to help her in her situation? And even if she would have opened up to allow me to help her in that situation, would that have helped or not? That's what I would ask. Yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss about your ex-wife there, and that would be an important conversation to have. Danny, this has been a fantastic conversation. Before we wrap up, where can everyone connect with you at?
Yeah, visit my website, authordannylampkin.com. That's authordannylampkin.com. And then I'm also on TikTok, Danny2538. And then on IG, Danny.R.Lampkin. Yeah. But I will say, I am on my social media, I am very serious, but I also act the fool. So get ready for that too if you want to follow me. Yeah, act the
All
fool.
right. You seem like a super cool, chill dude, so I can definitely tell that you probably got some good comedy going on over there. I have fully vetted everybody, so I've checked it out, but the audience needs to check it out. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate your openness and willingness to have this conversation. To everyone watching or listening, if something in today's episode resonated with you, make sure you share it with somebody who may need to hear it. Those simple shares can create conversations that truly change lives. If you're enjoying Soul Plus Systems, don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss future episodes. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. And remember, you don't have to stay in survival mode forever.